Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Fixed Ops Focus, streaming live on Fridays. My name is Steve Shaw, if you don't already know, and I'm here with, of course, America's Fixed Ops Director, Mr. Dave Rogers. Dave, you know what? We have an amazing guest today. Based on all of our conversations this week regarding the trials and tribulations of a new car dealership, buying a car, used cars, I decided to get a special guest, Mr. Jamie Powers from Rhythm Chrysler Jeep Dodge out of Nashville, and he's going to settle the debate. He's going to tell us how it should all work. Jamie is the leader of all leaders. So, what's on your mind today, Mr. Dave Rogers? How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm great, man. Looking forward to our guest. I can't wait to finish this week up of talking about sales, service, and the whole dealership working together. And there's a perfect guest for the end of the week. It's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying how are you enjoying this Florida weather?
It is hot and humid, but it's nice. It's the one thing is it's always sunny down here. That's for sure.
That is for sure. You know, it's funny. So those of you who haven't tuned in for a while, it's been a challenge, right? Most people know, you've heard my saga. You're probably tired of hearing the saga of Steve Shaw buying being crashed into his Wagoneer, and then the saga of everything there in between. But it really doesn't do it justice to think, oh, hey, you crashed your car, you're trying to buy a new one. It really goes back to all of the service. It goes back to everything before the accident, right? It's before the accident. It was all of the times that I traveled between all over Tampa, the Tampa area, every CDJR dealer here in Tampa. I've been to stores in Miami. I've been to stores in the mid-Atlantic because I drove my Wagoneer everywhere, 30,000 miles in just over a year, right? And so it was a terrible service at every store. And Dave, you and I have talked about this many times. It's like CDJR dealers, they don't know how, Chrysler dealers, Jeep dealers don't know how to deliver luxury, right? And Chrysler promotes this as a luxury brand, and they just don't know how to do it, right? You happen to be, in the luxury world with your Mercedes stores and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, we could talk about you can't make this shit up, but I can't wait to get Jamie on to talk to him in a few minutes. But it's crazy how poor these guys are at delivering that luxury to people who kind of expect it now.
It is a different mindset. I told you there is an issue. You got a Jeep, Chrysler, dealer, Dodge dealer, whatever. They're used to dealing with blue collar workers. They're used to doing what they do. Good, bad, or indifferent. The level of service, this shouldn't even matter if it's a luxury store or not. But when they make these promises, like your Wagoneer customer, as a Wagoneer customer, we're going to give you concierge, we're going to do this, we're going to kiss your ass, and then you're asking that, let's just say volume brand advisor to all of a sudden be different. I've seen it for years. It's just very hard for them to pivot that way. And, I think that most of that blame belongs to Jeep. You can say you're going to do this, you can say you're going to do this, but if you're not geared up for it and you're not, your teams aren't coached up for it, it's a very difficult transition to sit there and just say, okay, well, this one owner base is going to be treated different than everybody else. You just can't, it just doesn't make any sense. When you get into the luxury line, you get into BMW, you get into Mercedes, you get into JLR, that's just the way of doing business. There's no difference. If you bought a C class, we don't treat you differently than if you bought an E class or an S class or, whatever the case may be. It's just the way they do business. So yeah, I've always found it very difficult to just flip that switch for people. And they've just to me, they wrote a check they can't cash. And that's what they did with you, right?
Yeah.
And you just can't cash that check.
And the fortunate thing is, as you like to call me, an enthusiast, right? I like the brand itself of what it represents, right? We had a lot of those discussions with your group recently and so on. But it's interesting. I can't wait to tell Jamie this. I know he's listening. So in the you can't make this shit up category, right? So I'm out researching for a car, right? I get my buddy Claude. I'm out researching for a car. I stumble on a couple stores. I'm back and forth. I get on the phone with a guy, Jamie, I hope you're listening in the green room. A sales person said to me, shut up, Steve, and listen to me, right? Now, I never pull the "Do you know who I am?" card, right? And I didn't pull it at this point either. But it was hilarious to me. Like, what would give a salesperson, an internet salesperson, the thought process to say to a consumer, "Shut up and listen"?
Yeah, that's right up there with one of the best lines I've ever heard from a salesperson. You got to let
Shut,
him finish the spiel. Just you got to let the guy finish the spiel. Shut up, listen. Let me
shut up
tell
and
you.
listen.
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, as you go along those lines, like, so the reason I got Jamie on the call, not only is he a good friend, he's an excellent operator, is I'm talking to every Jeep dealer in town, and through my research, I personally know everything about a Wagoneer, Wagoneer limited reserve, altitude. I know everything about it because I've done so much research. And then when you call and ask a salesperson a question, like I might have a question, confirm this or that, they go, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And the first person that I met that actually knew something happened to work at Jamie's store. So I was like, wow, this guy actually, he goes, I've sold X, Y, and Z Wagoneers over the last 4 years. I'm like, oh my God. And he actually said to me, he goes, you really are an expert. I go, yeah, I know everything about these vehicles. Right. And it just blows my mind where that product knowledge, where did that go? Right. Where's the ambition? Where's the thought process that I might need to know something about my products?
It's a lost art. I think it goes. It's part of the Google generation. They don't learn anything until they need to know it, and then they Google it and they get the answer, and then they move on. Right? There's no retention. There's no studying. There's no written tests anymore. Listen. I used the example when I went out to San Diego the other day, and I got dropped off, and the valet opened the door, and he asked me what my last name was. He was tagging my luggage to bring up to my room, and he wrote it down, right? It's like no big deal. My luggage went up in my room. Then the next day I walk outside and the first thing he says is, "Hey, Mr. Rogers." I'm like, how the hell do you remember my name? Like, like I'm a nobody. I just pulled up. And he goes, "I've been doing this for 30 years and, I wrote it down. I remember it. Like you think it, you think it." And this guy was an older guy. He's been doing it for 30 years. And, that's the kind of customer service you would expect from any car buying experience.
Yeah.
I really don't care if you're buying a used Kia.
Right.
Shut up and let me finish isn't the answer ever.
Not to the guy that's going to buy a $75,000 car. But speaking of students of the game, why don't we just bring in the student of the game, Mr. Jamie Powers himself? Let's bring Jamie in. Let's get him into this conversation, and let's talk about let's talk about whatever comes up.
Man, bring him on.
Welcome, Jamie Powers. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Good afternoon.
You look pretty tall there. For a second.
I'm sitting in a high chair.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, everybody, I want to introduce Jamie Powers. Jamie is the general manager of Rhythm Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram in Nashville or Hendersonville. Is it Henderson? Hendersonville, Tennessee. Good friend of mine. We go way back, right, Jamie? All the way to the good old days. Jamie, yep. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us on the show. And as we get started, though, I want you were a fixed ops guy, right? You have a tremendous fixed ops background. And so we've been doing a thing where we've been talking to fixed guys to become general managers. So number one, I'm proud of you because you got to do the deal. You got in the big chair, but I'd love for you to tell people, maybe tell us about your story. How did you go from sales to from service into the sales arena and become a general manager? That's I think our audience of fixed ops people would love to know more. How did you do it?
Yeah, I think originally getting in the car business, I sold cars. I did, small sales management. Then I became a GSM and a GM. Then as I left to be a vendor, oddly enough, I sold for One Command. I sold products for LeaseLink and so on and so forth. Then I got recruited back into the car business. Well, at that point, I was called by a friend of mine to see if I wanted to be a fixed ops director. And I'd never been that before, didn't know much about it. And I said, I'm not really interested. They thought, well, if you know software, you know leadership, you know how to get things done, you'd be a good fit there. So long story short, I interviewed with them. They hired me, gave me the right pay plan. I was there for 9 years. I got married to my lovely bride, and she did 2 years in Iowa's winter and said, we're not staying here one more year. So she was right, by the way.
She was right. I don't blame her.
She was right. So then we left there and came down to Nashville to work for the Hudson organization as a fixed ops director.
Yep.
Did that for 2 years here, which was great. And then you're right. They tapped me on the shoulder to take over a failing CDJR store. And I've done that, and we've made some good progress. But I do think, to your point, such a small percentage of general managers came from that back end because, the dynamics of that brain doesn't work super well interaction, right? Usually an F&I guy at some point becomes a GM or it goes to the front of the house all the time.
Mhm.
The back end guys are very, very, very smart, and they're very prodigious, and it's usually more black and more white. And there's not a lot of gray. So, and they don't typically have a gregarious personality, which you're going to need if you're going to interact with, with the customer facing on the front of the house. So it's a rare deal to happen, but it does happen. The guy that runs our company, Daniel Johnson, who's our president, he's an amazing human being. He started in the back. He was a service writer and, did all these deals. To this day, I don't think I could write an RO. I mean, I literally went into being an FOD. But it is amazing the amount of data that they watch and they babysit, and just small tweaks here and there make just tremendous changes, which isn't the way it works in the front of the house, as we all know. Mr. Leap Sr. taught me, he said, you can train somebody to sell a car in 3 days, but you can't train a technician to be a good one in 3 years. So the value of the technicians, to me, is probably the number one value that we have in our whole store. So
I always felt, I always felt that in fixed ops, we know how to read accounting schedules. We know how money comes in. We know, we know the right thing to do. Let's make sure we set the deal up right. Let's make sure we put the incentives in there. Let's make sure we put the right value on the trade. And a lot of guys in sales, they don't like it, right? So I'm going to make this deal. I'm going to put 6,000 on a trade. Well, the ACV should be 3. Yeah. And they're like, but I'm going to give them 6. I'm going to over allow. I said, okay, well, set the deal up right. Put the over allowance in the front of the deal and show 3 on the trade, right? And they're like, no, we'll just kick the can. And like, no, you don't kick the can, Yeah, and I found when I was the GM doing that, it took a while, but once they started learning how to do it the right way, and each deal stood on its own, we started making money. Same thing that you're probably finding, it's logic, it's good business.
Yeah, I think listening to you guys earlier before I came on, it is interesting that the CDJR builds an amazing product with that rank with the Wagoneer.
Yeah,
but they didn't launch it. If you look at Hyundai, and then they introduced Genesis.
Yeah,
right. They made a very distinct difference between those two, even when it came to the technicians, and then it came to the tool things, and it came with the showroom. Then obviously now you have to separate them. I think if CDJR is going to do a luxury brand, and Wagoneer is certainly a great start, they got to do some degree of separation in terms of the showroom. Where does that go? I mean, we have a special floor. There's a bamboo thing above it, but that hardly separates it from the rest. The comments that you made earlier is the advisors don't really know what to do anything different, and I think that is very correct. But obviously that falls on the general manager.
Right.
Chrysler does, or CDJR does mandate that if you're bringing in a Wagoneer for repair, you have to give them a Wagoneer to drive away. I didn't know that until I got there. And like, well, then why don't we have any Wagoneers in our loaner fleet? So we do now. Get 5 of them in there right away, because if I'm a Steve Shaw and I'm coming in for a repair, I expect to drive a Wagoneer. To your point, I mean, they used to be $111,000, but they couldn't get the infotainment system to work more than a half hour. So then they fixed that. And then they dropped the product down to $80,000. You can get, to me, market wise, I don't know that there's a brand out there that competes with that level for the value. I don't know that you could beat a Wagoneer. I mean, I legitimately mean that.
Yeah.
But I think for service advisors, and I think you made the other point that no matter what you're buying, whether it's a C class or an S class, service is service. And sales sells the first car, service sells the next 10.
There you go.
Because Steve, you always teach this: if they're not going to treat you right in the service room, they're not buying another car from you. And it is a constant, vigilant, intentional effort in the service drive to make sure that customers are being treated well. When we look at our Google reviews now, our sales are great, which is shocking. But our service reviews are less. It's 3.2, and our sales is 4.7. Yeah. And that is the problem. Is the advisors sell from their own pocket. They sell from their own pocket.
Yeah.
And Steve does a phenomenal job teaching us. That's where I learned it from, right? So if they just report the weather and, these things failed the inspection, would you like to this is what you need? Let the customer say yes or no. It's not your job to sit there and go, well, I would if I were you.
Yeah, right.
They don't care, right? So if they just would report the weather fairly and equally and do a small amount of consulting, you can have empathy but not sympathy. You're going to make more money. You're going to treat the customer right. That's really what we try to do. Beyond that transition is a little bit different going from fixed to general manager for sure, but it's been fun.
I steal your line all the time, and your line was report the weather, right? I always talk about that line, that you coined. I should give you a plaque for that. It's just be the weatherman, right? Report the weather. The guy in San Diego doesn't tell you to put your whatever. The guy in Iowa doesn't tell you to wear your galoshes when it's snowing outside, right?
That's right.
It's cold. It's cold. We know it's cold and it's raining. So you get to decide what it is that you want to do.
That's right.
And so how has that been for you guys, from your perspective, coming in there, understanding the sales side of it and moving that needle in that customer service side for your store?
So, we struggle with it. We're getting better, to say for sure. We're definitely getting better. And I am trying to indoctrinate, and I'm not trying to give you a plug, but that whole Steve Shaw training thing is powerful, right? It's very powerful, because if you don't do that, then you're left to your own devices. And we already know what that does, because if you were any good, you wouldn't be needing any training. There are parts of that we use in sales as well, because at the end of the day, I think everybody knows that customers aren't any smarter. They're just more informed. Just because they have more information does not make you smarter. So every customer comes in, I already know what you have in the vehicle. I already know what invoice. Okay, but you already know that. Then why are you asking me for 15,000 off? You should already know that the internet pricing is, right at invoice or behind. So they're not smarter. And I want to address this. I think it's a really good question. What happened to the salespeople selling value, right? I'll tell you what happened to it. We aged out.
Right.
We aged out.
Right.
And then COVID came in. And how good did you have to be to sell a car during COVID?
Right.
For 2 years, a chimpanzee could sell a car. You just have to take the price on its head and send him out and he would buy it. So the kids that are, call it, say, 30 and younger, they've never had to really sell a car.
Right.
If you go back 25 years, what was it? The average customer hit 7 dealerships before they purchased. Yeah. So I didn't know if you were my first, your first stop, your third stop. Now it's like 1.4 stores that they go to before they pull the trigger. So I already know that you know everything. So now it's just a process of servicing them and making you feel good about who you're doing business with, because now we're selling ourselves. The car's a commodity.
Yeah.
You say one wrong word to them or one different facial expression, they're leaving. They're not coming back. You just lost that deal. So there's no secrets anymore. The only thing that you could try to make money on is maybe the trade, because we do have great data. But every time the customer says, "Oh no, my trade's worth 45,000." Okay, great. Where did you get that information? Why did you say that's what it's worth? It's not, because here's 40,000 pieces of data that says it's worth 27,000.
Right.
But there's always a deal there. You just have to be able to talk to people in an intelligent way. Mark, what are you going to say?
Well, I think when Steve said it before, when you're talking to somebody on the phone, I've always felt in sales that they call you up to ask you questions to scratch you off the list. So that, like, they're not really shopping you. They know there's 10 dealers out there, and they're going to say, all right, let me call it up and see who tells me to shut the hell up. I'm going to cross you off. I'm not wasting my gas to come visit you, right? Yep. And it's such a key part of the business, whether it's sales, service, parts, I don't care what it is. Right. They have so much option, all this information at their fingertips. They don't have to drive there to experience it, right? And they're gonna just, that's why they're at 1.4 dealerships now. Because they're not going to, years ago, you're right. They had to go visit 3 or 4 to get the price.
That's
now you don't have to do it.
You make a great point. They are calling to scratch you off the list. They're not calling. And what I tell my sales guys, they don't need an invitation from you to come in. What are you asking when they want to come in? They come in whenever they want. You're open until 9 o'clock. Right. If you just say, what time would you like to come in, is an ignorant question.
And here's the other question. Why, if I send you an email and ask you a question, why are you calling me? If I wanted to talk to you on the phone, I would call you on the phone, right?
That's
so
right.
I sent you an email. My expectation is you email me back. And I did have one guy email me and say, may I call you? Or would you like, how would you like to become?
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right. It kind of blows my mind. How do we go from the email to I'm going to bother you now. I don't want to talk to you, right? I'm scared to death of you. I don't want to talk to you. That's the
right.
customer's mindset, right? I'm a good keyboard warrior, but I'm not a good talker.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I tell them all the time, a customer walks in the door, they don't know you, like you, or trust you. Those are 3 things you're starting off with. They don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you. So anything that comes out of your mouth is a lie. That's the very first thing you have to know when you're interacting with the customer. That's what they think, right?
That's it.
So if you are more involved with them and you do some research on why they're looking for what they're looking for, can you say the money? The guy wants a 2,500 pickup truck. Well, what are you doing with that? Because I might be able to save you money. You might be able to get away with a 1,500. But we don't do any these kids don't do any investigation anymore. They walk you right to the 2,500 line, show you the most expensive truck. The guy goes, well, you're 40 grand off what I want to spend. Well, you should have known that before you walked him out there. So we're trying to train. How do you do the old, and Mario, I know you know this, the old school was, you do a greet, a meet, a qualify, land on car, 6 position sale. That shouldn't change.
Right.
It really shouldn't change. You just spend more time on qualifying. Because if I really know why you want it, I'm really interested in why you want it, then I can probably provide you, because the price is the last thing we're going to ever talk about. You already know what you want to pay for it.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I think when you're, the post-COVID comment is perfect, because you didn't have to know anything how to sell a car. And if you wind the clock back before 08, 09, when the economy took a dump, it was the same thing. The environment back then was, you'd walk into a store and hey, Steve, what's your credit? I got a 650. All right, you go sit over there.
That's
hey,
right.
Jamie, what's your credit? 750. All right, you come here.
That's
couldn't scratch out a deal. They couldn't work. They just couldn't do it. I mean, every bank was buying. Everybody was, it was crazy, right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, 08, 09 came, and I was at a mall. There was 400 people there, and we had to let people go because of because of the 09 thing.
Sure.
And we asked anybody who wanted a voluntary layoff, and all the Honda and Toyota salesmen raised their hands because they couldn't sell a car in that environment.
That's right.
And it was hysterical to watch. Like, that was the first time I'd ever seen that. And you really learned that there's a lot of people that just weren't students of the game. They just came to work. They got away with murder. And now you have to be sharp, especially in a domestic. Especially in a car line like you got a ton of competition in the CDJR world. I mean, it's
really
crazy.
Do. And the other thing I think that it either hurt our business or purified it, depending on how you want to look at it. But if you go all the way back to the burst of the bubble in the housing development, they were doing stated loans. The worst thing you could do on planet Earth is let a car guy sell a home on a stated loan. Everybody makes $500,000 because I don't have to prove it.
Right.
So not only did we ruin the car business, we let the car business. We were very good at running our mouths, but we went into the mortgage business because we found a loophole. So you're telling me I could sell a stripper a $500,000 house and just say that she makes 600 grand, and you say okay?
Right.
I don't know who's dumber, the banks or the car guys, but they are literally what caused the big housing crisis. It wasn't anything other than their stupidity and giving the criminals the ability to just make a stated loan.
Right.
I'm not going to say the truth if you're going to pay me. So I had 15 car guys that quit our business that went out and made $600,000 for the first 5 years. Now they're ruined.
Yeah.
Then if I could take my choice, I'd hire 60-year-old guys and older. I wouldn't have anybody under 50 years old to sell cars for me because they don't know what they're doing.
I hope your HR director's not listening. Hope HR is not on the phone.
That's right. HR is here. My wife's here, and she's the chief of HR. And Steve will tell you she's tough. She'll wear me out. But I do feel like those are two seismic shifts in the car business. Was going out to being a home, a home lender, whatever that's called, and COVID. Those are the two things that shaped, I believe, what we have here today.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you see the same thing in the service department?
No, oddly enough, I don't. And we all know that they're a little bit more stable. A technician generally is going to stay longer. The advisors will stay for the most part. If you're paying them well and they're trained, they'll stay. But, Steve, you said this for years. Onboarding and training is the number one reason people will stay with you.
Yeah.
It just is, right? Because if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm a younger kid. I have a clouded future. I don't know where I'm going, so I got to get out of here. So we don't do a great job on board. The industry is as an industry, we are terrible at onboarding.
Absolutely.
These young kids, and I don't want to get into the whole generational thing, but the young kids, they're really not bad. They just want to know what's my path to success.
I couldn't agree more. You're 100%.
And we don't do a good job of telling them that. It's not that they want to be president tomorrow. They just want to know, when can they be president? What's my path to get there, right?
Yeah.
Where your guys and me, certainly my age, We never expect to be president. We just expect to come into the salt mines, work 17 hours a day, get MF for 5 hours, and make no money, and just thank God we had a job. That's how dumb we were.
No,
But look at us now.
But
Look at us now.
Look at us now. We still get MF, but make a little bit more money for it now.
It's true though, and it's you're right on with that when you say that they want to know the career path. Now I have had some people quit because they couldn't be the CEO in 6 months. I have had that when I told them you can't do it, so they leave. But you're right. You have to explain a little bit more. Nobody had to explain anything to us. They just told us get to work, shut the hell up. And let me finish talking, shut the hell up. That kind of expression, right, Steve? Yeah. Maybe that's what the person you were talking to.
I mean, today, if you have an 8:30 meeting, back when you were selling cars and when I was selling cars, an 8:30 meeting meant you got to be there at 8:15.
Right.
These guys think an 8:30 meeting starts about 8:40.
Yeah.
And I still got to go get my coffee.
Right.
And they literally don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's mind numbing. So you got to temper your frustration with it because that's who you're dealing with right now.
I've been saying it for years. I tell Steve this all the time. You can't outmanage bad parenting and character flaws.
That's exactly.
If that kid wasn't raised right, and it's okay to be 15 minutes late, you're not going to outmanage it. That person,
you're not going to outmanage it.
So I used to tell him when I was a GM and I had the Saturday meetings. I said, listen, there's only one valid excuse to ever be late is if you stopped and brought everybody breakfast.
Right.
So if you walked in that meeting 1 minute late, you better have a bag full of bagels or donuts, or you better have everybody breakfast because there's no valid reason.
There is no valid reason. We have changed. It was for the past 2 months. It was that they come in 5-6 minutes late, and they're like, "I'm only 5 minutes late." I mean, yeah, but you're still late. So here's what we're doing: at exactly 8:30, we're shutting the door. You're not allowed in. And when we get done, we're gonna have a separate meeting, and that's the meeting you don't want to be in.
I like it.
We don't rage and go nutty, but we might send them home. We might have them wait till 3 o'clock where they can get it up. They got to work on the phone. You have to be in these meetings, but that is emblematic and you really nailed it, is bad parenting.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you raised your kids like I did mine. You're going to thank people for everything all the time. You're going to look them in the eye. You're going to shake their hand firm. If they did something nice, you're going to thank them. And oh, by the way, if I say be here at 8, you're going to be here 10 till 8 waiting. Right. I don't know where that went.
Well, what's funny is, and this is not a plug for Steve or anything, but we teach a class called Keys to Communication, and it's, can you say please and thank you, right?
Right.
Can you say welcome to somebody? And when we always kid around like saying welcome, grumpy technician to the parts department, or please or thank you, parts person for doing that, right? And sometimes when I'm teaching these classes, like I do scratch my head. I'm like, really? You pay me a lot of money to teach your people how to say please, teach your people how to say thank you or welcome, and it's a we did the welcome dance in Key West, right? It's like, welcome, and it's like, it's a lost art to be pleasant. And
unreal.
It would be hard pressed. I tell you, I was getting my head cut open with a brain tumor and I was smiling, right? Because that's just my nature. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yes.
And our associates just don't have that same mentality. And I guess you're right. It's bad parenting.
And you know what? Well, I think the ultimate, if you want to say, look, here's the ultimate example. That's what I was looking for. The ultimate example is Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. Mm-hmm. Period. Nothing else needs to be said. You can't find a rude person in Chick-fil-A. They don't exist.
Right.
They don't exist. You can't find a polite person in McDonald's. They don't exist.
If you can find a person, if you can find a person in McDonald's, it's all kiosks now. It's pretty funny.
I'm going to tell you,
find a person there.
The parity between the two, if that doesn't illustrate what society is in right now, and I was listening to this guy doing a speech about the millenniums and the general, and he's right. It was some version of this, but 84% of your workforce, something like 84%, is 90% of your customer facing employee, and they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
To Steve's point, they can't say thank you, have a great day, so glad you're here to see it. They can't say any of that. They're polarized by their cell phones and their iPads in their basement, and they're texting their mother, bring me more snacks because I'm not overweight enough.
So let me ask this question, because you and I have done leadership training together, and I put you in that category. And this is me and Dave always have the leadership versus management conversation. Yeah. But how did you are you going through that right now? You just talked about locking the person out of
Yeah.
the room, right? And I know there's a don't quote me on this because I'm definitely not into the scripture, but I know there's one scripture where they lock the church doors, right? And if
Yeah.
you're late for church,
That's
they
right.
lock them out, right?
That's right.
And when I would go to mass, I'd be like, why are these people coming in late? If
Yeah.
the scripture can tell you to lock the door, shouldn't
right.
we just do that? So
Yeah.
what's the way? I mean, how do we? I hate to use this term. It's like eye roll culture, but how do you build that culture in your store that these are how we do business?
I think it's well, let me say that the answer is simple. To execute is not necessarily so simple. But I don't know if you've listened to Dave Anderson, but he is now literally my favorite.
Okay.
Dave Anderson is me on steroids. This guy plays 0 games, but he has, first of all, he has tenets that it requires to work there. You have to follow these 5 rules. I can't name all of them, but one of them is respect, right? And his point is, if you're late, you've already lost, because that's not respectful. So I think the biggest challenge is that we say what we expect, but we don't repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and we don't hold consistent with it. Because if our favorite salesman who sells 26 cars comes in 5 minutes late, we excuse that.
Right.
Well, then what's the rest of people going to think? So it's, obviously we've got to have a consistent message that doesn't fail. Then we have to have accountability, and accountability without teeth, you might as well not have it.
Right.
So it's got to be there. It's just like raising kids. If you whether you whip your kids, I don't mean spank on the bottom, or you don't, whatever you say you have to do, if it's grounded or it's timeout, right? If you say it, you have to do it.
Right.
The problem is they get conned, and they got a whiny excuse. You can't. But listen, you're going to have to crack a few eggs to make a better omelet. There's no doubt about it. Some of them just can't. They're just not going to do it. They weren't raised right.
I got a couple questions for you. Before we do it, we got 2 comments out there. Stephen Metler, welcome, Jamie. He pounded into me about customer service. I guess one of your ex-employees or current employee. And then also asked, how do you feel about product knowledge for service advisors?
Yeah,
I think they've done a better job than sales.
Yeah, I think they do. Their due diligence is a little bit more. Salespeople, and I'm going to include myself in that category. We're the ultimate underachievers. We're going to do just enough so we don't get fired. If you give a fixed person a training process or solution, they do it. They learn it. So for years and years, the sales guys think they are the belle of the ball. We sold the car but let me tell you something. We make no money on sales.
Right.
If we're good, we're making 80 cents out of every dollar is made in the service.
Right.
If you're average, you're making what, 75 cents, maybe 72 cents. I don't know what average is, but we try to strive at 80 cents. So if you think about that, what do you make in the front if you do a good job? 3-4% maybe?
Tops.
So you really ain't done shit for me. You're pushing the pedal, but when it comes to dollars,
you're getting all the glory.
The back end is the one that really pays the bills.
Well, I've always taught my people that, nothing good happens till we sell a car. So let's help them sell a car, right?
That's right.
But then you're right. We have to do a good job in service, which has really been the point lately with Steve and his dilemma of trying to replace the car. And we use this example with Steve because he totaled it. But anybody that's been in the business long enough to knows is 50% of the people that have an accident with their car look to trade it in within a year. They don't want it. So it's a lot more than people that just total their car, So, we've been focusing on obviously fixed ops. We know 65% of the gross profit for the entire dealership comes out of service, 15% out of parts, and then, the rest is from the front end of the house, right?
That's right.
So it's the most profitable area, but it's also the area that has a big impact on whether the customer is going to buy their next car from you.
Exactly right.
80% of the people will buy a car where they service it. So again, go back to Steve's example. 3 Jeep dealers treating them like crap. And then they want to know why you're not going to buy a car from us. Well, because you treated me like crap. Like it's not brain surgery, this stuff.
No, it's not.
And I'd rather buy from you because I know you and I have a relationship, for $1 here and $1 there. I'd rather buy from you personally. Yeah. I can go to Carvana and get the same deal. Right. But I don't know Carvana. I have 0 relationship with them. I've got 3 stores locally to me that they're just not nice, right? To put it politely. Yeah. And so why would I spend my hard-earned money? And then if a guy tells you to shut up, well, we're done, right? I mean, I'm old school. And so if you tell me to shut up, I really don't want to do business with you. You know what I mean? Right. Regardless of the deal. And
That's
so I think that's where the value proposition comes in. And I think sometimes as service people, we forget, like I was taught that, Dave said that, service, nothing happens until sales sells a car.
That's
So
right.
our job in service was to sell that next one, right? Our job is to support that. And if
That's
we
right.
can't treat our people right, and I don't even get paid, rarely do I get paid to teach CSI. Like I get paid from a more sales and increment, improving your performance.
Yeah.
But nobody calls me and says, Steve, teach my people how to be nice. And
Yeah.
so, but we've lost that art. And I think that's what's killing us right now. And that's
Okay.
the CSI versus retention. We got great CSI. We have shitty retention. That's the whole message right there.
That's right. But if you think about CSI, it's funny. We teach a thing called the path to service excellence, right? So it's the whole soup through nuts thing, which is phenomenal, right? We're doing the pre-writes the night before making the call. We're doing a lot of things right. But what a lot of people fail is CSI starts either the night before when you call them for the pre-writes, or when they hit the parking lot, not the service drive.
Right.
Because if you think about it, and I do this parody because I have a restaurant background, Steve, as you know, but if you go to a nice steakhouse or an average steakhouse, right, and you pulled in the parking lot's a little trashy, it's not that great. The bushes are out of whack. There's the barks all over the sidewalk instead of in the flower beds. Already there's a mindset that I'm not sure this place. Then the 8-year-old hostess is sarcastic, right? Her first question is, do you have a reservation? Rather than, welcome to such and such steakhouse. How can I help you? Then the waiter takes 15 minutes to get to you. You have no water. You're drinking out of a canteen that you had in your car. Then when they finally show up to you, they're impatient for the order. They take the order. They don't write it down. So sometimes the order is wrong. You can't get a refill. The steak may or may not be cooked correctly. So I can go through this. Then here's what happens though. Here comes the check. They have all the time in the world to talk now. Hey guys, thank you so much for dining with us. We really hope you have a great super weekend. We're so happy that you came by. You kids look cute. It's awesome. I can't wait to see you again. Yeah. So for 5 minutes, you did a good job and you want me to give you a good tip. I do because I'm a sucker, but that's CSI. Exactly. We didn't get up and meet him at the car. We didn't do the walk around. We didn't qualify anything. We said, what do you need? Okay, great. Would you like to get this? No. Okay, let me go ahead and write your RO. Have a great day. Your car's parked out back, by the way. We got it parked out back. So go through the 90-degree heat. Hope you don't slip on a grease spot and get your car and get out of here. And then we say, hey, you're going to get a survey. I really hope you give me a good one. I did the best I could. Well, that's the best you could. I don't want to ever come back.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it starts from the time they hit the lot, and we do a good job at doing that because our CSI is good. Obviously, everything can be better, but we work on that constantly.
Yeah, that was my thing when I was running the Chrysler stores back in the day. It was just kill them with kindness. These cars break down a lot. They have problems. These people are pissed. Just be nice to them. If you're just nice to people, you can get. And that's how we got good CSI in all the Chrysler stores. Yes. I got a question for you though, and it's something that's been popping up lately. Maybe you see it online. How's Carvana doing what they're doing out in Arizona? I was reading the other day they sold like 980 new cars out of a dealer that used to do 30. It looks to me like they're not following the rules everyone else has to follow. But how the hell are they doing 1,000 cars out of one store?
Well, one of their stores is run a lot with AI, and it's the most problem. I mean, they're killing it. Listen, I think anytime you have a structured process and you follow it and it's a proven process, you're going to do well because, they're obviously in a good market. I get that. And they probably got some really good inventory, which isn't an excuse. They do a great job. I mean, it's like, why does Chick-fil-A sell more sandwiches than anybody else in the world? They're trained better.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking because you were saying that, the Chick-fil-A, but, think about that. They sold 980 cars out of a dealer that used to sell 30.
Right.
Those cars they're going all over the country.
Yes.
Now these people are going to buy the car from Carvana and then they're going to bring it to your service department.
Yep.
And then they're going to expect that concierge service, Steve, right?
That's right.
That's what they're going to expect, right? And it's going to add that little complexity to things where, I don't know. It's good. I'd like to have the business. I'm a greedy slob. I want all the service business, but what are you going to do? You're going to reward people from buying cars from Carvana? I mean, it's really going to be a challenge in the Chrysler world. It really is.
That's a really good point. I mean, you're right. They are going to come to our stores and they're going to want service and expect what and have you seen their stores? Have you seen the images of their stores?
No.
Dude, Google it. They're mind blowing.
Are they really?
My store is $32 million. It's gorgeous, but I'm just telling you, these Carvana stores are insanely well designed.
Wow. Well, here's the deal. Last Saturday, I had to about 15 minutes to kill before I was waiting on before I went out to dinner, and I sat down and I got my phone out, and I've been effing around with this for a while, and I was like, oh, let's look at Carvana. In about 5 minutes, all I had to do was hit one more button, and this car will be delivered at my house tomorrow. Like 5-minute process. And I've been back and forth with umpteen car dealers in a week and a half, and I haven't gotten even close to hitting that button. And so there is the ease of making this deal with the Carvana.
Yeah.
And there's not even a question about, if this is the price, it's the price.
Yeah. So they're starting to become popular, but this AutoFi, I don't know if you've seen this. It's going to be on websites. I think CDK must own it, but it's a way that you can purchase the car completely online. We don't have it to assign yet, and less than 2% of the buying market uses it. But to your point, go to Carvana, probably 70% use that.
Right.
They do a very good job at that. There's a lot to talk about too with contraction, right? When we talk about these groups, like the group I'm in, we own 65 stores. You look at the Morgan Group, you look at Terry Taylor's group. These guys are gobbling stores up because that second and third generation doesn't want to work as hard as their dad worked or their grandfather.
Right.
They want to take the spoils of war and say, I'm out. I'm going to California and surf. So I think that's going to be another thing that we've got to face as a challenge.
Let's shift gears for just a second, because I wanted to talk about used cars. We were talking about this whole thing this week about the used car service department. I'm going to say more of a clash, or we've been talking about how they're not working or gelling together, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a specific process? How do you guys work together? What's your thoughts on that particular scenario?
Yeah. So for UCIs.
Yeah, for used car inspections, exactly.
Yeah. So we bring the trades, and we have a policy. If it's $1,100 or less, they don't need to call us. Just fix it.
Right.
Then we architect 3 different.
That is your favorite word. You have that word down. We architect. I stole that too from you.
We built 3 different.
How do we architect this deal?
We do, right? So we architect 3 different inspections, right? And we write them out, and they're very clear. We have a wholesale to the public, which, by the way, we're doing really good with, which is amazing. That literally means we bought it, washed it, and pushed it over on the left lane. You own both halves if it breaks.
Right.
Then we have a safety vehicle, which we did a safety evaluation on and correct everything. So all the lights and the brakes and the start and the stop and the turn, that's there. Then the rest of them get soup to nuts. If sales says, no, I don't want to do that because we're heavy in the car already. First of all, if it's concerned to safety, that's not an option. But let's just say, I don't know what it would be. Just say an electric antenna doesn't go up and down or whatever. They could choose to fix that or not. But if they don't fix it and the customer comes back on that and it was recommended to fix and we said no, then the sales department has to pay for that.
Right.
If service missed it and it wasn't something they could have foreseen, then we just eat it as a company. Because as you well know, with a used car,
right,
2 months later, the starter goes out or whatever that looks like. So we have warranty in place for 60-day drive off where you're protected no matter what. We use Mock, and not to plug them, but they sell a product where I think it's for $60 or something like that. You've got a 30 or 40-day warranty on it. They'll fix the majority of the things. So in terms of your point, Steve, we just want to make sure that they get looked at quickly, get in and out of the shop. We've got it down to where it's 3 days. Yeah. And we just go at it. But I think a lot of it was built on trust. If it's $1,100 or less, don't even call it, just get it done. Because we're more interested in speed and throughput than arguing.
That's kind of been my point too. That's like my premise, in all of the, I'm going to say research, but in all the times that I worked together with different stores, when it came to used cars, getting through the shop, right? The bottom line was, here's a budget. I like the 1,100, right? Whatever that number is for you guys. Is it less than average, or what, the average deal was 14. We were saying spend 11. We don't care. But I love the idea of having that budget, and get it done. It's a done deal, right? And so we've got to get those cars done in 3 days, and 24, 48, 36 hours, or whatever that number is. If I could add 24, 48, or 72 hours, we got to get those cars back on the line. So I absolutely love that. Do you ever run into a scenario like we were talking about this week? Used car service manager, a used car manager needs a deal, or do you run into those scenarios, and how would you handle that?
Certainly no. Most important thing is we got to make a car deal. So listen, we might have missed it. We didn't know it had that. Can you help us out? And we'll do it. We'll do it for, less than door rate, obviously, and do parts plus 10. We will absolutely do it. But that starts to become a habit, then we have a different process. But yeah, for certain, because at the end of the day, as everybody knows, nothing happens until you sell a car, right? And everything good happens when you sell. But I got to get that out of there. So I think also, we use time X time.
Right.
Excellent.
So the inspection is done through X time, and it is sent to the used car manager. So we have a trail. And if you
Right.
said, "Hey, buddy, you said don't do it," you're eating it when it comes back. So we do get the 3-day. We get it done pretty well. But yeah, we absolutely are instructed to help them. But I tell you, I think the thing that helps with that, as a GM, a high percentage, I don't know what percent, but it's a high percent, I promise you, coming in through what I call the back door. Salespeople don't know when they're here. They don't know when they're leaving. They just sneak in through their private door. Or they always come through the exact same door. I always go through the very back door of service.
Yeah.
I talk to every tech,
Right.
walk into parts, bump fists with every one of them, go out through the service drive, give a tap to all. So not that I'm anything special, but they feel like they're connected.
Yeah.
So that if I need something, they're super willing to help because it's a great team. They
Right.
don't see me as some methodical, mythical guy that just shows up every time he needs money from somebody. So I think that's very critical that the GM is down and dirty with everybody else. I mean, why wouldn't you drive the Zamboni in the shop if it needs cleaned? You're nothing special. Get on it and drive it,
Right.
or
Yep,
push
yep,
the
yep.
broom.
Yeah, that was one of my tips of the day one time a while ago for the GMs. Walk in the back. Don't park in the front spot. Come around the
That's
back
right.
of the store. Come
Yep.
through the park shipping and receiving area. Say hi to your
That's right.
people in the back.
Yep.
Too many times these GMs, they park in a handicap spot right in front of the
Yeah.
store. They walk in, they go in their office, they don't say anything to anybody.
Yeah.
And you got to be approachable. You got to talk to them.
That's
And
right.
we had the one guest on, Joshua. He said they just ask the guys, or anything I can do to make your life easier.
Exactly.
Just act like you care. Like,
That's right.
it's not that hard. It
That's
really
exactly
isn't.
right.
Yeah.
And they're all going through stuff in their personal lives. They've got
Right.
wives going to the hospital. Their kids aren't doing great. They've got
Right.
a problem with. I mean, why are you not connected? These people are making your paycheck. If they don't work, you don't make money. I don't care what your title is.
Right.
Exactly.
So you
Exactly.
really have to be down there, and you have to genuinely care about them.
I think that's the key. Do you actually care about them? That's the
Yeah.
deal. These people make our lives.
That's right. That's exactly right. We did sign, because it was so mismanaged before I got there. We had them sign a minimum standard of performance. So we set that up. I stole that from Steve a little bit, but this was in terms of their work, right? So if you're a service advisor, this is what is required every month,
Mhm.
right? Not recommended. Yeah. And for sales, we said, hey, listen, if you can't sell, I think the number we're at now, it's like 12 a month. So if you don't sell 36 cars in a quarter, we love you, but you're getting promoted to a customer. You can't work. It's just that simple. And I will tell you, that has done changes for us because there was no expectation. You have to pay minimum wage, right? Or whatever. I think we were paying $17 an hour. So I just savvy this math. It blew my mind. We're paying $17 an hour for a salesperson who could come in and literally ride the clock and sell 4 cars.
Right.
He's making $4,000 a month on me. He sold 4 cars. I'm going backwards with this guy.
Right.
So that's why we put that minimum standard of performance. So we did it in sales for the technicians, with the service advisors, because they want to know where do I got to be? What does win look like? Half these
How do you monitor that? This is awesome. How do you monitor that in Fix? Do you do a daily meeting? Do you have like production meetings?
For sure. As you know, which I stole from Girly Leap, we do a huddle meeting in the shop at like 10:17. It's 2 tents, and we go through everything there, and then we have the boards that hang up, and we show all the hours, we show everything. And if somebody's failing behind, we want them to stay. We want to coach them. We want to say what you just said. Listen, you're going to miss this mark. How do we make this better for you? Is there something else we could do?
Yep.
But if you took 3 days off to smoke and 19 days off to ride a horse, and you took a 3-hour lunch 5 different days, I mean, that's on you.
Right.
So
no, that's amazing. I love every bit of that, and it's good to hear. I like hearing people talk about that, like where successful people are doing those things, and a lot of people are. I don't know what it is. Whether it's knowledge or fear or what exactly, why people won't take that extra minute and do exactly that. It's fear. It could be. Well, I'm scared to have a meeting because somebody might yell at me or somebody might tell me whatever. I don't know.
So here's a perfect example of that. So my fixed ops guy is a great guy. He's freaking awesome. And I put this minimum standards of performance in. He was like, I don't know. I mean, we might lose some people. I said, fine, tell him to pick a door. I don't care. That's literally what I said.
Yeah.
So he came back and he said, so-and-so wants sign. I said, no problem. He's a customer now. Tell him to get out. Whatever door he wants to leave. But when you tell them that, they go, okay, we'll sign it. Because technicians and everybody else, they're used to working with people that are scared to
Right.
make. I'd love to never fire anybody, but
Right.
no one's going to hold me hostage. If you can't do your job, I love you, but you can't work here.
I love it. I love it.
But
Yeah, I mean, that's essential to do. You know, we've talked to Steve and I've talked about this before over and over again. The daily meetings are key. They got to know where they stand. And then,
yes.
you know, to piggyback a little bit on what you said, years ago, I learned, you know, especially after the housing crisis and stuff, you learned it real quick. You know, if you had 100 people working for you and they were only making 75% of what they should make, you got to trim the force. So get rid of the 4 or 5 car sales guys, get it down to 75% workforce. So they're all making a living now, right?
Yep.
And then you have a better productive workforce. You have more, happier employees. You know, a lot of times we try to appease these bottom feeders, or, you just want to, I got this tech in the bay and he turns 4 hours a day and I'm just going to put up with it because it's 4 hours. Somebody else will do those 4 hours. You'll probably get 6 out of those same cars if you give it to a real tech, and
we just went through. That's a great point. So it's funny because I get to tell the shop foreman, if they can't get to 7.5 hours a day or 7, that's okay. I'm gonna get somebody else to do it, but you ain't gonna be the guy. So we had a tech that was on a guarantee. I'm adamantly opposed to guarantee unless you just came in the door, you get your feet on. I mean, I get it, but nobody's going to be on a guarantee. We had a tech on a guarantee for 7 years.
Right.
I said, today that stops.
Yeah.
He might quit. I said, good, then get him the fuck out.
Right.
He's just draining you. Now listen to this thing. He was flagging 5 hours a week.
Right. Nobody was paying attention.
We pulled the guarantee out. He did 32 hours.
Right.
There you go.
That makes me just lose my mind.
So I have to interrupt, right? This is fucking awesome. We could talk here for hours, right? We always do, right? But here's the thing, Jamie, a little bird told me that you're a chef.
A former chef, yes.
So before we go, tell us about being a chef. It's freaking awesome. Tell us about your chef life.
Well, it's all the hours you want to work. You get to go home smelling like shrimp and garlic and dish soap, and you won't be appreciated. And you get to work with the social dragnuts of the world that never grew up saying, I can't wait to be a dishwasher and a waitress. But short of that,
it's kind of like the car business.
Kind of like the car business, but more hours, if you can believe it. But I was professionally trained. I've cooked for a lot of famous people. I've cooked in multiple countries. It was fun, but it's a young man's sport. For sure. I mean, it is a lot of danger and heavy lifting, moving around, a lot of cuts in these hands to learn good knife skills. Cooked in Midtown Manhattan,
Nice.
Dallas, Texas, all over the place. It's a good skill to have. It's just not a good skill to make a living out of it. But yeah, it's fun. My wife decided to make a TikTok of me, and she aptly called it the Smart Ass Chef, which she's not wrong. So we put some videos out there on TikTok, and I haven't done one recently. We want to kind of make it to where, the average person that cooks at home gets to learn something from it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's fun.
The cooking shows, Hell's Kitchen or Restaurant Impossible.
Yep.
I used to love watching those shows because, and my ex-wife used to laugh at me because it was like, she's like, that's you. You're like Gordon Ramsay. That's how I used to fix stores. Yeah. Back in the 80s and 90s. Early 2000s.
Gordon Ramsay's a child. He couldn't have been a dishwasher in the circle I swam in.
But the TV show about going in and fixing these places.
Yeah, but the whole
you used to be able to do that in the car business. You can't do it anymore.
You can't do it anymore. But the whole back in the restaurant business, and when I grew up in it, you're only trained by French and German chefs.
Right.
And them throwing hot grease on you is a weekly event. That's getting motherfuckers. That was a good morning. There's nothing big. So throwing knives, throwing hot grease. I've thrown hot grease on 15 different people. Just that's how we came up. It's terrible, but so when I watch a Gordon Ramsay show and he gets mad, he bangs the table. That's all for that's fun. He ain't half of what these French and German chefs came in here. Not even half. He's talented. Don't get me wrong. He's a marketer, but it's more brutal than that in the real kitchen.
But I used to just love the concept of the show of going in there and fixing things like that.
Yeah.
Like any of those shows,
Because
when you get you went into a broken dealership, you're probably doing a lot of the same things that you probably did when you fixed the kitchen.
Yeah. Like that bar rescue guy. He's pretty solid. I like that bar rescue.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, those are fun shows to watch for sure.
Well, that's awesome. Awesome. Jamie, what was the name of your TikTok? Tell everybody where they can find you on TikTok. And we got to wrap it up. Why don't you give us a GM tip of the day? Tell us where they can find you.
I want a real GM to give a GM tip of the day. There you go. That's what I want.
I would say a real GM tip is to truly and deeply appreciate the people that work for you and know that you're there to serve them. They're not there to serve you.
Awesome.
That's good.
Where can we find you on
Where can we
TikTok?
find you? Yeah, where can you find you?
It's the Smartass Chef.
The Smartass Chef. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, both of our listeners, well, Craig and Craig will be he'll be looking up your TikTok tonight. And Jamie, we appreciate you very much. Yeah. And I'll be getting back to you probably tomorrow because I'm going to go get some dinner. Me and Dave.
Sounds like a plan.
Dave wants to smoke a cigar, and he's down here in Florida. So
thank you, guys.
Look at this guy, Steven. Jamie used to cook us steaks when we hit our numbers. Look at that. The man is amazing. That's great.
True. Look at that. Look at that. See,
hey, listen,
he knows it.
Jamie cooked me the best burger and tater tots I ever had one night when I over in Iowa.
Well, it was Iowa. So, yeah.
We had to go to the dollar store to get everything, So that's
true.
That's awesome. Well, Jamie, thank you so much. Dave, you want to wrap us up and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, just saying appreciate the guest that's doing it like every day, and he's got a lot of the same thoughts we do. It's funny, some of the expressions that come out of people, no matter where they are in the country. When you're in this car business, we all think, a lot of us old timers, we think alike. We say the same things. It's really funny when you hear it. It might be a different slant or a little change of the words here and there, but we're all using the same expressions, which is great. It really is great. Listen, again, great show from the directors. Appreciate everything they do for us. Everybody watching, really appreciate what they did, and that was a great guest. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.